In the end, if a department can't function or work, if the back-end infrastructure is up and running, they're still not back in business. During testing, you find some of the oddest things. I remember we were testing, for a water district, and the application that they happened to be using that was critical and runs the business during disaster recovery testing, it just wouldn't work. We could not get it functioning. It was a web-based app, but come to find out, the 3 users that used it had to have a very specific version of a browser, and 8 boxes had to be checked right in order for that thing to work. Well, who had the 8 boxes? Well, that was done 2 years ago when the installation company came in and set that up. Well, who knows that, right? And how are you going to figure that out and, again, extract that from the right person? But the impact to the users are the app doesn't work.
Right.
And it's it could seem like, okay, it's a desktop issue, but it definitely affects the operation of the app. So like Gavin said, testing to the end user level is when you identify those problems.
I remember when I first started at All Connected, we were in a recovery with a small manufacturing client, and to that same point, the ability to print and manufacture, or the manufacture was happening, but they weren't able to package what they needed to and ship it out because of a printing label, and all the information that had to go to that printing label was just a print driver component to a local PC, and so everything really wasn't functional. They could create all this product, but they can't get it anywhere, right? So, doing the work to test to that end user and making sure that the print driver worked, that they could print and get it out the door, right? Seems super simple, but it was a really unique type of printer, really unique type of component for what they were doing. And so those are the unique stories you hear. It doesn't have to be a large enterprise. It could be, more often the small business that has some old legacy type products that were just installed several years ago, and now you're trying to recover, something that it isn't off the shelf or isn't available anymore.
So really, part of the testing, the customer has to be involved for a lot of it. They just can't come in and say, "Oh, looks like the program opens. Okay, great, we're done." If that manufacturing client didn't try to print a label, you wouldn't have found that particular piece was not addressed. And how would from a technical perspective, how would the engineer know that unless the customer actually tries to do that? So really, that testing's perspective, start to finish, opening, the program, entering information in, running a report on it, printing it out, emailing it, whatever the full operation needs to happen. So there's really a lot of customer input that needs to happen anytime that testing's done.
I think you hit on the reason why a lot of MSPs, so MSPs being managed service provider, the IT support folks for a lot of companies, why a lot of them have such challenges and lose clients during those critical times. It's not because they weren't responsive often, and it's not because they often weren't out there doing as best they could. Is you get into that finger pointing of, well, we brought it all up and running, but now we found this little thing we were still trying to work through, and they spend a day or two trying to solve, right? And the MSP feels like a hero because they spent a few days solving some little intricacy, but the client's perspective is it took several days to get back up and running, and that's just not acceptable. Right, and so we're always trying to meet, a client's expectation, but it's something that could be solved much easier if we're just running the test in advance, preparing for it.